Welcome to Echoes from the Basement, an X-Files podcast. I'm your host, Alice, and each week I revisit a classic episode of The X-Files while sharing my take on the strange and mysterious adventures of Agents Scully and Mulder. And who knows, I might even make a believer out of you. Hey everyone, how's it going? How's your summer been? What have you guys been up to? I recently saw with my husband 28 years later, the newest movie to come out. It was awesome. The cinematography in it is amazing. And I thought it was going to be like the original 28 Days Later, but honestly, it was much better. I would totally recommend go seeing that movie. It's awesome, amazing. 10 out of 10, especially if you enjoy zombie movies. I'm here today with my co-host, Sky. She is a golden lab. My husband and I are pet watching her, dog sitting. That's it, dog sitting her. We love her. Now, let's get into the episode. We are on episode 8, Ice. It starts in icy Cape, Alaska, 250 miles north of the Arctic Circle. It's snowing hard outside. We see that there is this facility, maybe / cabin. We see a clock and it's almost 8:30. There's a cute little dog. It looks like those miniature border collie dogs. The camera follows a dog inside this research lab where there's all these dead bodies around just out of nowhere. One person seems like he has survived, but he has blood all over him. We can assume maybe he had, trigger warning, shot some of the other people in the facility. He has 2 guns. He's shirtless. He's walking around like a madman. He decides to turn on the equipment such as radios, lights, etc., and he sits in front of a video camera where he keeps repeating the same phrases over and over again. He says it goes no further than this. It ends here. Another man comes up from behind him and they start to struggle. So the other man bear hugs the shirtless guy. They fight. It's punching. It's hitting. It's bash after bash. The guy in plaid, he was the guy that snuck up behind the shirtless guy. He's down for the count. He is out cold. The shirtless guy and the plaid guy both have a gun at this point. They're at a standoff. They're both staring at each other, but it seems like they are reading each other's minds. It's intense. You can cut the atmosphere with a knife. They are both, trigger warning, going to unalive themselves, and that's what they did. That's the first half. Now we're back at the FBI HQ. We see some snow on this television screen. We see a crew of guys in this video explaining that their time in the Arctic, sharing victories, saying that they have drilled further than no one else ever has. This is called the Arctic Ice Core Project. Mulder is explaining that the team was sent there by the government to do some top secret research to drill into the ice over a year ago. The samples the team removed had traces of gas, dust, chemicals, and reveals Earth's climate before. They are almost done with this research. They're about to head home. There have been no accidents, no nothing, not even a single mistake until a week later, and then another transmission was made, and that was the shirtless guy with his message. He says in the video, we're not who we are. We're not who we are. It goes no further. It stops. And then the transmission ends, as we saw before. Scully is watching. She is spooked. Now, because of bad weather, nobody can reach the compound. Scully and Mulder are picked for this assignment. Scully said, well, they could just be suffering from some isolation, aka maybe some sort of cabin fever. Mulder says, no, they are top-tier scientists. They are trained for this. Why would they go mad now, essentially? Mulder says they're going to meet up with some other scientists, three of them to be exact, that are familiar with the project. They only have a 3-day window. They need to get in and out before the Arctic storm hits, or they could all be trapped. Basically, Scully and Mulder are going to meet up with these scientists and go see what happened to the team. Now we're in Doolittle Airfield, Nome, Alaska. We see a plane, people working on it. We're in some sort of hangar. We see a guy listening to old sports cassette tapes. Scully and Mulder are right behind him after he does this silly victory dance. This man is Dean Murphy, the sports guy, a professor of geology from the University of San Diego. He gives off sort of silly vibes. The other two people that show up are Dr. Da Salva and Dr. Hodge. One is a medical doctor, that's Dr. Hodge, and a toxicologist, Dr. Da Salva. They are all accompanying Scully and Mulder to find the missing team. They all introduce themselves. Dr. Hodge says, well, can I see some ID, Scully and Mulder? I want to make sure everyone is who they say that they are. Everybody takes out their IDs. They all show each other. They say, okay, I'm this person, everything matches up. Dr. Hodge says, well, does anybody know why we're going on this mission? Dean says, well, look at our careers. That's the biggest hint. Scully says, well, you guys have seen the tape, right? They all kind of look around, oh, I've definitely seen the tape. Dr. Hodge says, well, you guys should know why we're all here. You're part of the FBI. A Jeep pulls up out of nowhere. It's their pilot. His name is Bear. He said, come on, let's go. We got some flying to do. Dr. Haas says, well, can we see some sort of ID, some identification? The only ID that I need is that I'm going to fly you guys up there, and that's it. So take it or leave it. All right, so the team is zooming in the sky until they reach the research facility. They burst into the door of this facility, and they see dead people all around like we saw before. Mulder says, Bear, get the power started. They're all kind of looking around with flashlights. Mulder says, we have to document the scene so nobody touch anything. We just kind of see more views of different things inside the facility. Basically, everybody's just kind of looking around and piecing together what has happened. Scully's taking some pictures. Mulder finds a freezer that stores some ice, and it says on the outside 3,175 to 250. He opens the freezer, and we see some ice samples that are melting because why? The power is out. They're from thousands of years ago. Dean says he wants to preserve some samples, so he takes them out, but we are also zoomed into one particular sample, so that must mean something. Dr. DeSalva and Mulder, they're looking around. A lot of this episode features just everybody looking for a good half of it. They find the dog, and it attacks Mulder from behind. He's kind of fighting off the dog, but he says, Bear, I need your help, get the dog off me, and Bear is bit by the dog. Mulder holds the dog down with a blanket, and Dr. Hodge injects it with some sort of sedative, and the dog's just, put to sleep in a good way. He's just sleeping, napping. Scully and Mulder asks if Bear is all right, and Mulder as well. Mulder says, the dog didn't bite me, but Bear bandages his arm up in the meantime. Dr. DeSalva asks, well, did the dog have rabies? Scully examines the dog's body, and then she finds these black spots on it. It is swollen lymph nodes, symptoms of the Black Plague. They're like these little dark nodules under the dog's arm. Dr. Hodge runs a blood test to see what causes the dog to act this way and what are these black spots on it. There's also a skin irritation on the back of the dog's neck. All of a sudden, the group sees something move under the dog's skin. It kind of looks like a worm, and they're all kind of like, what the fuck? What is this? And they're shook it. They're like, what? Bear is in the bathroom. He's patching up his arm. He starts to groan and hold his chest like he is having a heart attack. He takes off his shirt, and then he feels and sees those black spots under his arm, just like the dog. He's shocked. He's like, oh my gosh. Inside the compound, I also want to mention Scully's hair seems like it is more blonde in this episode. I wonder when they start to introduce her iconic red hair, but I kind of like her as this cute blonde color. Anyway, Scully says 3 men have been strangled and 2, Richard and Campbell, killed themselves. Those were the guys from earlier, the black guy and the shirtless guy. She also sees something strange as well. There's tissue damage due to fever. So you might ask, well, if these guys killed one another. Why would they have tissue damage due to fever? Bear asks, did any of them have black spots like the dog did? Scully says no. Bear asks, does those spots have anything to do with the guys killing themselves? They don't, right? Right, guys? Dr. Hodge says, well, we can't rule it out. We have to re-examine the dog again. They see that the nodules on the dog are gone. Mulder says, well, what could that mean? Dr. Hodge says, well, those little nodules, black nodules, could be a symptom of a disease. So Bear is silently panicking to himself. He's shitting bricks. He's like, no. It's like the biggest game of Among Us. Dr. Da Silva, hopefully I'm saying it right, is in a lab area. She's going through the research that the other scientists have done along with Mulder. Mulder finds a piece of paper with the same phrases the shirtless guy said before, written on it cryptically. It's in black marker. It's shaky. It's crazy. Mulder goes over to Dean. He says he's just listening to more sports stuff. He's got his headphones in, his football cap on. Mulder says, can you look at these satellite photos, Dean? Dean says, I got you, fam. He says these are the icy cape. These are located in the icy cape area. It seems like there's a depth of 3,000 meters in this ice sheet. It's 3,000 meters thick. Mulder said, well, how is that possible? Their data says that they found it twice the depth. Dean says they were drilling inside of a meteor crater. That's why it is so deep. Dr. Hodge and Scully are fighting, and he says she is wrong about these samples. Mulder comes in. He's like, well, what's going on? Scully says, I have checked these samples twice, and I am not wrong. There are traces of ammonia hydroxide in one of the men's blood. Dr. Hodge says, well, that's not possible. Ammonia would vaporize at human body temperature. Dr. DeSalva says, well, I've checked all the air vents. There's no toxic stuff in here. Dean says, well, I've seen it. It's actually in the ice samples, and there's more. There's a high ratio of ammonia and water in the ice core. Dean says that the Earth's atmosphere can never produce something like that. Well, Mulder says unless a foreign object was introduced to the environment. So you know what's up, aliens. Mulder looks into the microscope to see an interesting sample. He sees a sharp worm-like creature with the head kind of moving around. Scully looks at Bear. He's just shaking and quaking in his boots. He is starting to panic. Scully says, well, I've seen that creature in some of the other men's blood as well. The other scientists that, were found here. She comes up with the theory. Scully says, well, what if these are just the beginning stages of a larger animal, kind of like some sort of parasite. Dr. Hodge is, of course, he's unimpressed. He's like, no way. I doubt it, because he's kind of a jerk. We go back to looking at the strange creature under the microscope. Scully says, Dr. Hodge, you might want to take a look because it's there. This parasite creature, whatever you want to call it, it's there. Take a look. Get owned. Dean says, well, what if it was from the ice core and it infected the other men? So they basically drilled it and it infected them. Dr. DeSalva says, nothing can survive that long in ice for 250,000 years. How could something live that long in freezing cold temperatures and for billions and billions of years? Mulder proposes a theory. What if that's how it lives in the cold, lives where there's a lot of ammonia? Bear is like, nah, guys, I don't think any of this is true. Scully, you just said those guys killed each other. Let's just leave it at that. He's trying to get out so bad. Dr. Hodge is like, yeah, but we should really send those bodies to proper doctors so they can diagnose the bodies to see what's really wrong with them. We don't have that sort of technology here. Then Dr. Hodge, of course, throws some shade at Scully and says, just by the off chance that somebody missed something. He is a certified hater. I dislike him. He's at the bottom of my tier list. Mulder says we can't take them back. They're infected. He says, well, we could be bringing back the next plague with us. They have to be quarantined. We have to be quarantined. We don't know anything about this parasite. Bear sweating at this point. You can see it in his face. He is scared and he does not want to tell the group that he is infected. Dr. Hodge says, well, I agree with Bear. We should go back. We're running our own chances of getting infected. My question is, why do you think that nobody in the group tells anybody that they're infected? I understand it's out of fear, but maybe you could say that you are and be cured. You know what I'm saying? Dr. De Silva says, well, Bear was bit by the dog. Bear turns around and says, well, the dog bit Mulder too. Scully decides we must determine if any of us are infected. Dr. Hodge says, well, we'll need to provide a blood and stool sample then. We need to run a test to see if any of us could be infected. Dean says, well, I can't poop when I've traveled. Respect. Scully starts handing out jars to people. Bear throws his jar and says, I'm not pooping. He's spiral squatting at this point. He's out of control. He says, I'm out. You guys can stay here. I'm gonna leave. Mulder says, well, you can't leave. The dog bit you. We don't know. You could be infected. Bear gets up in Mulder's face and says, oh, look, I was just hired to fly you guys out here. Nobody said anything about all of this. I'm going. Bear decides he's leaving. The group struggles over the fact that if they should let Bear leave. Mulder says, let's take a vote. Let's vote to see if we should quarantine Bear. Dean, Scully, Mulder all raise their hands. I'm not sure why other people didn't raise their hands, but I would have. Mulder gets his gun out and says, Bear, we just want to check on you and then you can leave. Let's just run a test of some sort and then you can leave. Bear says, all right, give me the jar. He then proceeds to hit Mulder over the head with it and runs. He said, I'm out. Scully tackles him because she's a bad bitch, of course. And Mulder and Scully tie Bear up. Dr. De Silva spots the parasite under Bear's neck. Dr. Hodge says, I'm going to cut it out. Mulder says, no, it's too dangerous. Now we have this dilemma of now this guy's infected. We can't let him get out. And how do we take out the parasite? Do we take the risk of cutting it out and he, something else happens to him? Or does it save him? We don't really know. Dr. Hodge cuts into his skin to take the parasite out. The parasite is underneath, his neck skin, in the muscle, I guess you could say. It's gross. It's long. It's slimy. They put the parasite in a jar, and Mulder tries to radio for help. He says, please help us. We have a biohazard here. Whoever he's radioing says, well, you guys are going to have to stay the night because of the storm. The people on the radio says, well, if you don't leave in an hour, you guys are basically going to be screwed. Scully says that Bear died. Now they have no pilot. Dr. Hodge says that the creature is similar to a tapeworm. Dean says, well, you can deal with that, right? You can make a cure of some sort. If it's that similar. Dr. Hodge turns around and says, no, it's a very different organism. I've never seen it before. He also goes on to say that the creature lives deep in the brain, where hormones are secreted. Dr. Hodge also says, well, that would make sense since Bear got increasingly more violent. Dr. Hodge also says that he thinks everybody who acts aggressively is infected. We also find out the worm feeds on our ability to control violent behavior, and it doesn't kill you until it's extracted. Okay, we know that the worm is the cause of violent behavior. It lives in our brain. It cannot be extracted because then it kills the host. And now what do we do? Dr. Hodge also mentions that it releases some sort of poison and that's how it kills the host. Scully says, well, if the worm makes you aggressive, why did those scientists kill themselves then? Mulder suggests maybe they did it to save us, to stop the prevention of this parasite coming into the rest of the population. Scully and Mulder talk some more, and they are just kind of double checking the bodies, making sure everything is good. Mulder says, can you get some sleep, Scully? We've all had a long day. Scully says, I am too tired. I just can't sleep. Mulder says, we're all wired. I understand, but just try to rest. Scully says, I can't rest until we kill this creature. Mulder has an interesting take. He says, well, maybe we shouldn't. He summarizes kind of what we know about the creature and says, well, some organisms on other planets live in the freezing cold and in pneumonia. He insinuates that these are some sort of aliens that came down with the meteor to Earth. And the scientists essentially dug them up. Scully says, no, that's impossible. What if, the parasite gets into the population? So Mulder wants to save it. He says we can save it for further research. Scully says, no, what if the parasite gets into the population, it kills everyone in a matter of a couple of days. We can't introduce it and bring it back with us. They struggle of the use of the organism. They have the dilemma of, should they help humanity and study it and have like a prevention plan, or should they kill it and save millions of lives? Now, my question is, what would you do? Save everyone or keep it for further research? While Scully and Mulder argue, in the meantime, Dean puts on his headphones, and Dr. Hodge and Dr. Da Silva are just talking. They're talking about how it's starting to get hot in the building. Dr. Da Silva says, I'm getting really hot. This is awful. Dr. Hodge says, it's not you don't have a fever. It's just the heating system. He essentially blows her off because he's a jerk. Dr. Da Silva suggests that maybe Scully and Mulder knew about this parasite before they all came. Dr. Hodge says they probably did. They're FBI. Yeah, but they didn't because they were just as surprised as everybody else. Wouldn't they have some sort of prevention plan in place in case somebody got infected? Alright, so Dr. Hodge says Bear's blood did get on Scully. Dr. Da Silva turns around and says, well, it got on you too. The blood also landed on your skin. So Scully and Mulder are still arguing about saving the worm or killing it. Dr. Hodge says, Scully, are you alright? You seem kind of stressed and violent. Scully says, excuse me? What are you insinuating here? Do you think I have the parasite? Mulder says, everybody relax. We're all tired. We're all scared. Dr. Hodge says, well, we gotta check to see if we have spots. And if somebody does have those spots, they need to be separated and quarantined. Scully says, well, we're gonna do examinations in front of each other. No secrets. Got him. Mulder and the other men start taking off their clothes, and in a separate room, Dr. Da Silva and Scully are doing the same. They're all examining themselves to see if they have the parasite. They all go to the room. Seems like nobody is infected in the meantime. Scully says, everyone is okay. Good night. Good night, Mulder. Everybody is okay. Mulder says, don't believe what you see. Just keep that in mind. Scully goes into her room. She sees a lot of Playboy posters. It's clearly a guy's room. She snoops around a little and then she takes the desk and barricades the door. Dean is listening to some sports again. Dr. Hodge is making a list of maybe infected people. There's a lot of mistrust and paranoia here now. Who has the virus? Everybody is thinking that. Dr. Da Silva is sleeping. I'm not sure how. Mulder looks like he's getting ready for bed, but all of a sudden he wakes up in the middle of the night and hears a door close. He gets his shoes on and investigates. Mulder looks around with the flashlight, sees that Dean is gone. He then goes back to the research area, but he's startled by the dog barking in the cage. He also notices that there's a red substance that is dripping out of the freezer. Mulder investigates it further. He opens the freezer door and sees Dean's dead body come flying out, and his neck is slashed. Dr. Hodge and everybody else comes out and says, Mulder, you killed him. Mulder says, well, I found him like this. I heard one of the door close and I went to go investigate. Dr. Hodge says, no, it was you. You killed Dean. Scully, of course, says, it's not him, it's Mulder. Nuh-uh, he would never do something like that. Scully then, she's a little bit paranoid. Mulder has a gun at this point. He has it out. He's scared. Scully says, let Dr. Hodge just give you a blood test, any sort of test, and put your gun down. Mulder says, he's gonna change the results. Scully says, well, let us take a look at your neck. Let me. Mulder says, I'm not turning my back on anyone here. Scully points her gun at Mulder and says, look, you have to understand. Just let us do this. Mulder's kind of acting suspicious now. I don't know. There's a standoff between Scully and Mulder, and then Mulder is eventually quarantined into a closet. Mulder says, Scully, I'm going to be more safe in here than you are out there. One of them, referring to the doctors, has a parasite. Scully locks the door. She then goes around and starts looking into the research area, and Dr. Da Silva is sleeping. Her kind of face is down, her neck is exposed. Scully looks at the back of her neck, but Dr. Hodge stops her. Dr. Hodge says, what are you doing? Scully says, you know exactly what I'm doing. Dr. Hodge also says that, well, I'm the only one with a gun. Scully, what if you get infected? We don't have a chance. Scully takes the bullets out of her gun and then throws her gun outside because she says, you cannot get screwed. Dr. De Silva says that there was something there. Dr. Hodge says, we need to not turn on each other. The three of us need to stick together. Scully says, well, there's 4 of us. We're not going to forget about Mulder. We don't know if he's truly infected. And if he is infected, we need to help him. Dr. De Silva agrees. Who knows what the parasite could do to him in extended periods of time. Scully tries to radio for help, but there's just static. It's because of the storm. Dr. Hodge and Dr. De Silva look into the blood samples a little bit more from the men who died. Dr. Hodge is so over the other doctor. He kind of talks to her like he's annoyed with her. Dr. Hodge screams at Dr. De Silva for putting the wrong blood and mixing infected blood with infected blood. He just straight up belittles her and yells at her. Interestingly enough, we find out that the infected blood versus infected blood kills both of the parasites. They don't like each other. They essentially fight to the death. Scully says all of this. Scully then puts 2 worms side by side in the freezer and they try to attack each other. We see that the creature does not like company. The cure is to reinfect the infected. Scully and the 2 doctors put a worm into the dog's ear to test their theory. The dog whimpers and twitches, but he's fine. Scully gives the dog some dog food. Dr. Hodge says that the dog passed the worms in its stool, so now we know that's the cure. Worm versus worm in the same house. Scully says, I want to talk to Mulder first before you put the worm in him. I have to be sure that he has it. Scully goes into the closet where Mulder is quarantined, and she goes by herself. Mulder says it's one of them. I know it's one of them. They are infected. Scully says, well, nobody has been killed since you last left. She explains how the worms basically kill each other and that's the cure. Mulder says, so you'll infect me with one of these worms. Scully says, well, why didn't you let us check you? Mulder says, I would have, but you pulled a gun on me, and I don't trust either of those doctors outside. Scully and Mulder check each other. No worms. Neither of them has a worm in them. They come out of the closet. Dr. De Silva says, Scully is not going to let us help Mulder. Dr. Hodge says, well, she's going to have to if he's infected. Here's the thing. When Scully and Mulder come out of the closet, they said, we're not infected. Scully says, it must be one of you then. Check. Dr. Hodge says, okay, let's check. We're gonna go back into the main building then. Until Scully and Mulder are attacked by the 2 doctors. Scully is locked in the closet and Mulder is disarmed. Scully tries to open the closet door. Mulder fights with Dr. Hodge. He tells Dr. De Silva, you need to get the worm. They almost put the worm in Mulder's ear when Dr. Hodge seizes the worm in the back of Dr. De Silva's neck. Dr. Hodge pushes Dr. De Silva and says, Mulder, it's her. Dr. De Silva runs and Mulder opens the door for Scully. The whole time I was thinking it was Mulder. He was the one that was infected. And then I also thought that Dr. Hodge was infected. Who did you guys think was infected first? Who did you think was infected at all during this episode? Dr. Hodge picks up the worm. They all go after Dr. De Silva. She is tackled by Scully and Mulder and held by them. The worm is inserted into her ear. She winces and kind of struggles, but they saved her. Dr. De Silva is taken to a hospital. Dr. Hodge and Mulder and Scully, they all talk. He says, we're all being released. This is great. Mulder says, well, I want to go back to that site. There's research to be done. I want to study the worm a little bit more so we can prevent this in the future. Dr. Hodge says, well, you don't know. The military or the CDC torched that place. There is no research facility. Mulder says, well, I guess it's still in the ice then. Scully says, yeah, it's still there. Scully also mentions that we need to just leave it alone, Mulder. This is one of my top favorite episodes. It reminds me so much of the movie The Thing. It gives kind of like the same vibes of people trapped in the Arctic with no help. And one of them is slowly infected and they have to weed the infected out. You kind of have to prove to everybody else that you're not the infected one. You don't know who to trust and who to not trust. And it could literally be anyone here. They even have the dog, and they have another dog in the movie as well. I wonder if they kind of did that on purpose to mirror the movie. Anyway, I think it's an awesome episode. One of my favorites. It's truly so far, maybe it's number 3 of my favorite episode list. I'm not too sure. Anyway, thanks for listening, all you truth seekers, abductees, and X-Files enthusiasts. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share the show. And remember, the truth is out there. You just have to find it.